Hey everyone, welcome back to Let's Talk. My name is John, and today here on the channel, we're going to be talking about 1976's Taxi Driver and its 4K Blu-ray that came out a couple of years ago. So Taxi Driver was written by Paul Schrader, directed by Martin Scorcese, and it stars Robert De Niro as Travis Bickle, a troubled man who's come back from the Vietnam War, and he's just lost in this world. He doesn't know what to do, he can't sleep, so all he wants to do is just work. And he figures since he's just hanging around at night, just taking the subway, going to see some porn films, and he doesn't know what to do, so he decides to get a job as a taxi driver.
He said it! He said it!
And since this movie is written by Paul Schrader loves to dive into men with existential crises going on. Look at movies like Mishima, Life in 4 Chapters, Light Sleeper, or more recently First Reformed and Master Gardener. Paul Schrader is the king of this. He likes to pick one character, usually a man, and just show them in their downfall and what is going on in their head, trying to understand what the character is thinking. And Travis Bickle's probably the king of those characters. Travis Bickle is such a troubled man. You don't know exactly what's wrong with him. Is he troubled because he came back from the Vietnam War like this? You know, early in the movie we see that he's a former Marine, so they definitely trained him to be a killing machine, and I'm sure he's seen a lot over there. But does he struggle with mental illness in general? Maybe he's a little bit autistic, because we see he has horrible social skills. One thing about Robert De Niro in this role is, you know, people are talking to him.
You talking to me?
But he doesn't seem to be registering what they're saying. You can just see the confusion in his face. Like, he has one outlook on the world, but he doesn't match up with everybody else's, and everyone else around him starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable around him, just because it seems like he's there, he's present, but his mind is just somewhere else. Like, his answers to certain questions, or when people are talking to him, he's just so lost. He doesn't understand exactly how this world functions, but he knows he wants to fit in. He's a lonely man. You know, he lives alone, his family's not there, and he wants to do something. He wants to do the right thing. He wants to get in a relationship. When he tries to get in a relationship, because he's never done this before, it really just ends horribly. The fact that he thought he could take a girl on her first date to a porn theater is just absolutely insane. And she's thrown off immediately by this. She's like, oh my God, are you taking me to a smut film? Like, she just can't believe that somebody would think that this is what you do. And he's like, oh, a lot of couples do this. You know, and he's just trying to be a normal person. And then once that doesn't work out, he decides, well, I'm going to go full 180 the other way. He decides, you know what, I'm going to kill the politician that this girl is working for. And then, you know, I guess he comes to his senses, or he would have got caught, and he decides, okay, maybe I'll redirect this energy in a more positive way. And Harvey Keitel in this film plays a pimp, if you can believe that. And one of the ladies of the night who happens to work for him is a very, very young Jodie Foster. I believe she was 14 years old at the time of this movie. I mean, it put her on the map, but that definitely will make you uncomfortable. And Robert De Niro's character, Travis Bickle, is very uncomfortable with the fact that this is what she's doing. So he decides to take that energy and save her. So he goes in this room and just goes on an outright killing spree. Rescues her in one of the most violent scenes in film history. I mean, this scene is so bloody and gory and just downright nasty, gets under your skin, that they actually had to change the color tone of it, and that's why the blood looks like it's almost like an orange, or like very faded in the sense that it like blends in with the skin, is because it's so realistic. I mean, the way these shots are, this would be tough to watch today because it doesn't feel over the top. You know, when you watch like a John Wick movie, it's almost like a video game because you know it's so fake. This feels real. Like, this feels like the camera is a person and you're right there watching this all happen in front of you. It's a tough watch. It's still tough no matter how many times I've seen this film. The very end of this movie is just very tough. And you think, okay, now he's a hero finally. But no, that was just redirecting that anger somewhere else. I don't think he's going to stay this way. I mean, yes, this is a nice little thing for him, but I unfortunately think that eventually he's going to go down that same path, and I don't think our character of Travis Bickle has a happy ending for him, unfortunately. I just don't think that this is the kind of guy that gets that happy ending as much as he wants it. And you know what? This will be a great moment in his life, and I think people will appreciate him for it, but he's just not that type of person. I don't think he can handle it. And Martin Scorsese's direction with this film is also perfect. It's shot beautifully. He does a good job acting in this movie as well. This is probably his best acting performance. I actually think that his character, you know, he's a scumbag.
Nothing else. I'm gonna kill him. What do you think of that?
But Martin Scorsese plays him so well. He's like all coked up, which is just perfect for the time. And, you know, he's a loose cannon. He doesn't know what he's going to do. He wants to go in there and just kill the guy who's banging his wife. But Martin Scorsese, great job in this. The score to this movie is fantastic. It's funny, I was watching this and my wife was next to me. She's like, oh, the score doesn't fit this film. I was like, no, the jazz score really does help move this movie along. You know, it's like very calming, which is going totally against what Travis Bickle is. Travis Bickle is never a calm person, but you know, nice, smooth jazz. It feels like that's something that's calming. It's that juxtaposition of the score and the character. I think it works perfectly. Yes, it's very, very 70s, but I actually think it works in this movie. And then, you know, you get Albert Brooks popping up in a small role as well. I always think that's really funny that he's in this movie. You know, he's still a little bit funny. You know, the comedian Albert Brooks is there, but, you know, not like something the guy we would know in the 80s and 90s, but he's still there, very young. It's nice to see him pop up in this movie. But really, it's Robert De Niro's movie. This might be his best performance. It's not my favorite performance from him. He falls into Travis Bickle, a character that you're afraid of and you don't understand, and you want to understand what this guy is thinking, and he does such a good job acting, not just, you know, with the way he delivers dialogue, but with his face as well. A phenomenal performance by Robert De Niro. I have no complaints about his performance. I have almost no complaints about this film. It's one of the best films of the 1970s. It's a great character study, well directed, well written, well scored, well shot. It's an almost perfect 1970s film. If you haven't seen Taxi Driver, I can highly recommend that you check it out. No matter if you watch it on 4K, Blu-ray, DVD, or you're just streaming, it's a movie that you absolutely have to see. And before we dive into this 4K Blu-ray review, if you are a fan of movie reviews, 4K Blu-ray reviews, shorts, podcasts, and lists, we try to do them all here on the channel. Nothing will help this channel out more than by just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel. So I actually got this 4K in the Columbia Classics Volume 2 set that came out now 2 years ago. And I'm actually very surprised still that this hasn't gotten a solo 4K Blu-ray release. Now, it has had some Blu-ray releases. Its most recent Blu-ray release, I believe, was in 2016, and that had a new 4K scan on it. I think that's the disc that's packed in here, but it also could be a 2013 Blu-ray release because the audio track is a DTS HD 5.1, and that track has been with it since about 2013. So I'm not too sure of what Blu-ray is in here, but it is a pack-in Blu-ray. So if we come into this beautiful Columbia Classics set, it's going to be Taxi Driver. Everything in this set actually did have its own individual slipcover in the maroon red. So if you slide that off, different artwork underneath. And if this had gotten a solo release, I imagine this is what it would have looked like. And in this same set is The Social Network, which we reviewed here on the channel. Same thing, hasn't gotten a solo release, but this is such a beautiful looking 4K, I really can't understand why. When you go inside, you get your Blu-ray. That's a previously released Blu-ray. That is not this new 4K compressed down to 1080p. No, that's either the 2013 or 2016 Blu-ray, I believe. And I believe it's the 2016 is that. That's my best guess, but I can't confirm that. And then you get your 4K Blu-ray right here. And you do get Dolby Vision. Columbia Pictures is owned by Sony, so this is a Sony Pictures 4K Blu-ray disc. So, of course, it's absolutely beautiful. Now, it is a 1970s film, so don't expect this to knock your socks off and blow you away. It's kind of in line with other 1970s 4Ks, mainly movies like Death Wish, but still way better than Kino Lorber's release of Marathon Man. So it's definitely on the higher end of 1970s 4Ks. It really brightens up the film. It really actually makes it steady. I think that's the best compliment I can give to this film. It's very reliable throughout. The picture stays the same. There's a good amount of film grain, but it's nothing that's overwhelming. It's actually probably the perfect amount of film grain because it turns the resolution up so high. It's so much brighter now. There's a great contrast ratio going on now. Now, this movie in general, as far as the color timing goes, it was always a little bit faded and a little bit cool. So it's not going to be the most colorful film you've ever seen. There's a lot of red in this movie, and that's not going to pop off your screen like you would expect. Like, this whole movie is supposed to have this, like, faded look to it. Like, you know, it's a yellow taxi cab, but it's almost like this very faded yellow. So don't expect this to be the most colorful movie. That's by design. That's how the movie was shot. That's the cinematography. And I think it really translates so well to a 4K. Just again, don't expect this to be in line with like modern 4Ks or even 4Ks from the 1980s. Like if you were to compare this to like say Back to the Future 4K from Paramount, yeah, it's not going to look that good, but it's not supposed to. We don't want this to look modern. This is supposed to feel like 1970s New York. You know, the steam coming out of the sewers. Like, that was New York. And that's really supposed to illustrate what this movie is about, in a sense. Is like, not just Robert De Niro, but New York and how he views the world of New York at that time with the scum, as he describes them. and he can't take that, and the city itself is alive, and this 4K really does a great job bringing it to life. It is absolutely the best way I have seen this film. This film has looked very bad in the past, in my opinion. Now, the audio is great. Like I said, it's a DTS HD 5.1, but it's not a new audio track. A Dolby Atmos track, I think, definitely would have helped this movie, but I don't have too many complaints because you can set the remote down, whatever volume you choose to listen to this movie at. It's perfect. It doesn't matter. The dialogue is going to come crisp and clear. You don't have to worry about the score overwhelming it or anytime there's any sort of gunshots, which is really only at the very end of this movie. It's not going to blow you away to the point where you have to turn it down because somebody's going to hear it. No, it all sounds great. It's a great track. Would I have liked an upgrade? Sure, I always want to hear a brand new mix, especially in Dolby Atmos, but it's a very, very minor complaint for this disc. And then the extras. Now, you get the Blu-ray in here as well, so you get all the extras on there. And then you get some extras on the 4K disc. Now, none of these extras are new. So you're getting interviews with Martin Scorcese. You're also getting a nice commentary track with him and Paul Schrader. I think it said it was from 1986. You get an hour and 10-minute long making of documentary. That's going to be on the 4K. So they're split up between the 4K and the Blu-ray, and it is just loaded with extras. I mean, everything you could have wanted. Storyboards, trailers, basically the works as far as extras go. And again, that's something that we should expect from a set like this, which was expensive at the time. And we've gotten 3 volumes of the Columbia Classics set so far. I don't know if we're going to get Volume 4 because I thought Volume 3 really was the weakest as far as choice of films. While this set definitely has, I wouldn't say the best. I would still say the first set had the best. That had Lawrence of Arabia, Gandhi, and Doctor Strangelove. A League of Their Own, Jerry Maguire. It's going to be hard to beat that, but including Taxi Driver in this set, I was sure when I saw this that this would eventually get its own solo release. I'm still shocked that this hasn't gotten its own physical release yet from Sony. Put it in a nice brand new steelbook. It will sell like hotcakes. It's one of the most popular films from the 1970s, and Martin Scorsese directed. People know that name. Robert De Niro. I can't believe they haven't brought it over to solo releases. There's just money sitting there for you, but it does add to the value of the Columbia Classics Volume 2 collection, but I still think that this is something that everybody would want to see on 4K. Is it a big upgrade from the Blu-ray that's packed in here? Yes, it is, and if that's the most recent Blu-ray, you're going to want to see it on 4K. I can highly, highly, highly recommend this 4K if it ever does get a solo release, and I would give it a score. Out of 10, I would give this a really solid 8.5 out of 10. This is one you definitely want to see. And if you can't get your hands on this 4K, you can't get your hands on the Blu-ray, just stream this movie. Watch it on DVD, watch it on VHS if you've never seen it. This is one of those movies from the 1970s that's an incredible character study that just has to be seen to believe. And guys, it's also Monday, and that means it's time for our digital code giveaway. Every single Friday, I ask you guys 2 digital code giveaway questions. This week, I happen to ask you guys, what is your favorite Willem Dafoe film and what is your favorite crime film of the 1980s? And as long as you answered one of those questions in the comment section, I put your name on a magic wheel. We spin that bad boy 2 times, and then the 2 names that it lands on, they have their choice of the digital codes that you've seen on your screen before you today. And for Willem Dafoe, probably the most popular performance we got out of this was him as Green Goblin in Spider-Man and in Spider-Man No Way Home, which I think, you know what? It wouldn't have been his best performance had he not brought it back again for No Way Home. And then that probably did cement it as probably one of his top 3 best performances. And then the second most popular choice was probably The Lighthouse, which would be my choice for him because I didn't know he had that gear and you just can't read that character. And then, of course, you like me lobster, don't you? Like, that stuff is just perfect. Like, he's like, you can't tell if he's sane or not, like, because we're really looking at it from Robert Pattinson's view. And is this man losing it, or is he in complete control of the situation? And I absolutely love Willem Dafoe's performance in The Lighthouse. But he's got so many great performances in a career spanning since the 1980s. And I absolutely love the guy. I mean, I saw a couple choices for American Psycho. It's great seeing him play the straight man. Only one person picked The Boondock Saints, which I was very surprised about because that is a very, very memorable movie, and his performance stands out in that film. So I'm really glad to see that. As far as 80s crime drama goes, I would say Scarface, or at least a Brian De Palma film one. It was either that, The Untouchables, and I even saw some choices for Blowout. So Brian De Palma must have ruled the 80s when it comes to 80s crime films. So that was pretty cool to see. But anyway, let's see who this week's 2 lucky winners are. First wheel spin coming up.
Whoa, taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with this good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing.
Channing. All right, Alan, gonna remove you. Second wheel spin.
Whoa, taking the elevator, going up. Got a lot of ground to cover, and I'm in love with this good life. Can't give it up. Make it to the top, keep climbing. I wanna live it up. The good life. I'm coming up, I'm coming up.
And spooky. All right, Alan Channing and Spooky. Congratulations, guys. I think Alan might have won one other time. I'm not 100% sure, but Spooky's only been entering for a couple weeks now, so congratulations to you guys both. So if you don't know how this works, make sure you reach out to me at my email address, letstalkentmt@gmail.com, or you could always reach me at Twitter or X, whatever it's called now, Facebook or Instagram. Direct message me there. Let me know which of the digital codes you want. As long as the other winner doesn't take it, that digital code is all yours. And of course, if you answered one of this week's digital code giveaway questions and you don't see your name on the wheel, then you get a free digital code as well. And as always, same thing, reach out to me and let me know which of the codes you want. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for being here with me on another episode of Let's Talk. I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you did, nothing helps this channel out more than by you just simply liking this video and subscribing to the channel, and then just getting out in those streets and telling all your friends about us. We'll be seeing you around.